African buffalo are gregarious and live in mixed herds, often numbering hundreds of individuals. They are not territorial because they are bulk grazers and need to find suitable food and water on an ongoing basis. A buffalo can consume 35 liters of water at a time, in a matter of minutes. Buffalo have an excellent sense of smell, and use this to find food or detect nearby predators and other dangers. These enormous animals can also swim, and will cross rivers into areas better suited for grazing. Lions are often found following herds, large and small, waiting for their chance at a kill. However, buffaloes are not that easy to catch, due to the fact that they will not always run, but will group together, often forming a circle around their young, and try to stand their ground. Lions are also often injured or killed by buffaloes, especially by the bulls, which can cause a lot of damage with their horns, as well as by stomping on the lions with their deadly hooves. The buffalo is one of the so-called Big Five animals, an old hunter's term given to the 5 most dangerous animals to hunt in Africa. In the buffalo's case, it is mainly due to their dangerous and cunning nature. They do not have very good eyesight, but their hearing and smell is exceptional. There are many hunting tales that mention wounded buffaloes setting ambushes for hunters who follow them, where the animals circle back on their own tracks, and stand and wait for the hunters tracking them, and a number of hunters have been injured or killed by these animals through the years. The African buffalo is a large sub-Saharan African bovine. The adult African buffalo's horns are its characteristic feature. They have fused bases, forming a continuous bone shield across the top of the head, referred to as a boss. The African buffalo is more closely related to other buffalo species than it is to other bovids such as American bison or domestic cattle, with its closest living relative being the Asian water buffalo. Its unpredictable temperament may be part of the reason that the African buffalo has never been domesticated, which would also explain why the African buffalo has no domesticated descendants, unlike the wild yak, which is an ancestor of the domestic yak. Natural predators of adult African buffaloes include lions, African wild dogs, spotted hyenas, and Nile crocodiles. As one of the Big Five game animals, the Cape buffalo is a sought-after trophy in hunting. The African buffalo is a very robust species. Its shoulder height can range from 1.0 to 1.7 m, 3.3 to 5.6 feet, and its head and body length can range from 1.7 to 3.4 m, 5.6 to 11.2 feet. The tail can range from 70 to 110 centimeters, 28 to 43 in, long. Compared with other large bovids, it has a long but stocky body. The body length can exceed the wild water buffalo, which is heavier and taller, and short but thick-set legs, resulting in a relatively short standing height. Cape buffaloes weigh 425 to 870 kilograms, 937 to 1,918 pounds. Males weigh about 100 kilograms, 220 pounds more than females. In comparison, African forest buffaloes, at 250 to 450 kilograms, 600 to 1,000 pounds, are only half that size. Its head is carried low, its top is located below the back line. The front hooves of the buffalo are wider than the rear, which is associated with the need to support the weight of the front part of the body, which is heavier and more powerful than the back. Savanna-type buffaloes have black or dark brown coats with age. Old bulls often have whitish circles around their eyes and on their face. Females tend to have more reddish coats. Forest-type buffaloes are 30 to 40% smaller, reddish-brown in color, with much more hair growth around the ears and with horns that curve back and slightly up. Calves of both types have red coats. A characteristic feature of the horns of adult male African buffalo, southern and eastern populations, is that the bases come very close together, forming a shield referred to as a boss. From the base, the horns diverge downwards, then smoothly curve upwards and outwards, and in some cases inwards and or backwards. In large bulls, the distance between the ends of the horns can reach upwards of 1 meter, the record being 64.5 inches 164 centimeters. The horns form fully when the animal reaches the age of 5 or 6 years old, but the bosses do not become hard until it reaches the age of 8 to 9 years old. In cows, the horns are, on average, 10 to 20% smaller, and they do not have a boss. Forest-type buffalo horns are smaller than those of the savanna-type buffaloes from southern and East Africa, usually measuring less than 40 centimeters, 16 in, and are almost never fused. Unlike other large bovines, African buffalo have 52 chromosomes. For comparison, American bison and domestic cattle have 60. This means domestic cattle and bison are unable to create hybrid offspring with Cape buffalo. The African buffalo is one of the most successful grazers in Africa. It lives in savannas, swamps and floodplains, as well as montane grasslands, and the forests of the major mountains of Africa. This buffalo prefers a habitat with dense cover, such as reeds and thickets, but can also be found in open woodland. While not particularly demanding in regard to habitat, they require water daily, and so they depend on perennial sources of water. Like the plains zebra, the buffalo can live on tall, coarse grasses. Herds of buffalo mow down grasses and make way for more selective grazers. When feeding, the buffalo makes use of its tongue and wide incisor row to eat grass more quickly than most other African herbivores. Buffaloes do not stay on trampled or depleted areas for long. Other than humans, African buffaloes have few predators and are capable of defending themselves against, and killing, lions. Lions kill and eat buffaloes regularly, and in some regions, the buffaloes are the lion's primary prey. It often takes several lions to bring down a single adult buffalo, and the entire pride may join in the hunt. However, several incidents have been reported in which lone adult male lions have successfully brought down adult buffaloes. On very rare occasions, buffaloes and white rhinos will fight over territory. Due to the rhino's strength and size advantage, the rhino typically wins and the buffalo can die from injuries sustained during the encounter. Rhinos live solitary lives, whereas buffalo, excluding solitary adult bulls, primarily live social lives and thus they do not usually recognize each other as threats. Hippopotamuses and buffalo also do not normally interact, but if the buffalo provokes the hippo or makes it feel threatened, a fight can break out, but this is also rare. Adolescent bull African elephants may harass or kill Cape buffalo, either out of territorial aggression or while in must. When they do this, the calves are most likely to be killed by the elephant attack as they are defenseless when facing an elephant alone, whereas adults will try to fight back and may survive, or succumb to injuries afterward. The average-sized Nile crocodile typically attacks only old solitary animals and young calves, though they can kill healthy adults. Exceptionally large, old male crocodiles may become semi-habitual predators of buffaloes. The cheetah, leopard, African wild dog and spotted hyena are normally a threat only to newborn calves, though larger clans of hyenas have been recorded killing cows, mainly pregnant ones, and, on rare occasions, full-grown bulls. Large packs of wild dogs have been observed to hunt calves and sick adults. African buffalo skull decomposing in the Serengeti National Park, Tanzania. The African buffalo is susceptible to many diseases, including those shared with domestic cattle, such as bovine tuberculosis, corridor disease, and foot and mouth disease. As with many diseases, these problems remain dormant within a population as long as the health of the animals is good. These diseases do, however, restrict the legal movements of the animals and fencing infected areas from unaffected areas is enforced. Some wardens and game managers have managed to protect and breed disease-free herds which become very valuable because they can be transported. Most well known are Lindsay Hunt's efforts to source uninfected animals from the Kruger National Park in South Africa. Some disease-free buffaloes in South Africa have been sold to breeders for close to $130,000. Herd size is highly variable. The core of the herds is made up of related females, and their offspring, in an almost linear dominance hierarchy. The basic herds are surrounded by subherds of subordinate males, high-ranking males and females, and old or invalid animals. African buffaloes engage in several types of group behavior. Females appear to exhibit a sort of voting behavior. During resting time, the females stand up, shuffle around, and sit back down again. They sit in the direction they think they should move. After an hour of more shuffling, the females travel in the direction they decide. This decision is communal and not based on hierarchy or dominance. When chased by predators, a herd sticks close together and makes it hard for the predators to pick off one member. Calves are gathered in the middle. A buffalo herd responds to the distress call of a threatened member and tries to rescue it. A calf's distress call gets the attention of not only the mother, but also the herd. Buffaloes engage in mobbing behavior when fighting off predators. They have been recorded killing lions and chasing lions up trees and keeping them there for 2 hours, after the lions have killed a member of their group. Lion cubs can get trampled and killed. In one videotaped instance, known as the battle at Kruger, a calf survived an attack by both lions and a crocodile after intervention of the herd. Males have a linear dominance hierarchy based on age and size. Since a buffalo is safer when a herd is larger, dominant bulls may rely on subordinate bulls and sometimes tolerate their copulation. The young males keep their distance from the dominant bull, which is recognizable by the thickness of his horns. Adult bulls spar in play, dominance interactions, or actual fights. A bull approaches another, lowing, with his horns down, and waits for the other bull to do the same thing. When sparring, the bulls twist their horns from side to side. If the sparring is for play, the bull may rub his opponent's face and body during the sparring session. Actual fights are violent but rare and brief. Calves may also spar in play, but adult females rarely spar at all. During the dry season, males split from the herd and form bachelor groups. Two types of bachelor herds occur, ones made of males aged 4 to 7 years and those of males 12 years or older. During the wet season, the younger bulls rejoin a herd to mate with the females. They stay with them throughout the season to protect the calves. Some older bulls cease to rejoin the herd, as they can no longer compete with the younger, more aggressive males. The old bachelors are called dogga boys, mud-covered, and are considered the most dangerous to humans. African buffaloes make various vocalizations. Many calls are lower-pitched versions of those emitted by domestic cattle. They emit low-pitched, 2 to 4 second calls intermittently at 3 to 6 second intervals to signal the herd to move. To signal to the herd to change direction, leaders emit gritty, creaking gait sounds. When moving to drinking places, some individuals make long ma-a-a calls up to 20 times a minute. When being aggressive, they make explosive grunts that may last long or turn into a rumbling growl. Cows produce croaking calls when looking for their calves. Calves make a similar call of a higher pitch when in distress. When threatened by predators, they make drawn-out yaaa calls. Dominant individuals make calls to announce their presence and location. A version of the same call, but more intense, is emitted as a warning to an encroaching inferior. When grazing, they make various sounds, such as brief bellows, grunts, honks, and croaks. Females reach sexual maturity at around 5 years of age while males are sexually matured at 4 to 6. African buffaloes mate and give birth only during the rainy seasons. Birth peak takes place early in the season, while mating peaks later. A bull closely guards a cow that comes into heat, while keeping other bulls at bay. This is difficult, as cows are quite evasive and attract many males to the scene. By the time a cow is in full estrus, only the most dominant bull in the herd/subherd is there. Cows first calve at 5 years of age, after a gestation period of 11.5 months. Newborn calves remain hidden in vegetation for the first few weeks while being nursed occasionally by the mother before joining the main herd. Older calves are held in the center of the herd for safety. The maternal bond between mother and calf lasts longer than in most bovids. That bonding ends when a new calf is born, and the mother then keeps her previous offspring at bay with horn jabs. Nevertheless, the yearling follows its mother for another year or so. Males leave their mothers when they are 2 years old and join the bachelor groups. Young calves, unusually for bovids, suckle from behind their mothers, pushing their heads between the mother's legs. In the wild, African buffaloes have an average lifespan of 11 years, but they've been recorded to reach 22 years of age. In captivity they can live for a maximum of 29.5 years, though they only live 16 years on average. The current status of the African buffalo is dependent on the animal's value to both trophy hunters and tourists, paving the way for conservation efforts through anti-poaching patrols, village crop damage payouts, and campfire payback programs to local areas. The African buffalo is listed as near threatened by the IUCN, with a decreasing population of 400,000 individuals. While some populations, subspecies, are decreasing, others will remain unchanged in the long term if large, healthy populations continue to persist in a substantial number of national parks, equivalent reserves, and hunting zones in southern and eastern Africa. In the most recent and available census data at continental scale, the total estimated numbers of the 3 savanna-type African buffalo subspecies, SC cafeor, SC brachyceros and SC equinoxalis, are at 513,000 individuals. In the past, numbers of African buffaloes suffered their most severe collapse during the Great Rinderpest epidemic of the 1890s, which, coupled with pleuropneumonia, caused mortalities as high as 95% among livestock and wild ungulates. Being a member of the Big Five game group, a term originally used to describe the 5 most dangerous animals to hunt, the Cape buffalo is a sought-after trophy, with some hunters paying over $10,000 for the opportunity to hunt one. The larger bulls are targeted for their trophy value, although in some areas, buffaloes are still hunted for meat. One of the Big Five African game, it is known as the Black Death or the Widowmaker, and is widely regarded as a very dangerous animal. African buffaloes are sometimes reported to kill more people in Africa than any other animal, although the same claim is also made of hippopotamuses and crocodiles. 40 These numbers may be somewhat overestimated. For example, in the country of Mozambique, attacks, especially fatal ones, were much less frequent on humans than those by hippos, and especially, Nile crocodiles. In Uganda, on the other hand, large herbivores were found to attack more people on average than lions or leopards and have a higher rate of inflicting fatalities during attacks than the predators, the African buffalo, in particular, killing humans in 49.5% of attacks on them, but hippos and even elephants may still kill more people per annum than buffaloes. African buffaloes are notorious among big game hunters as very dangerous animals, with wounded animals reported to ambush and attack pursuers. There is only one species of buffalo in Africa, but 4 distinct subspecies exist: forest buffalo, West African savanna buffalo, Central African buffalo, and Southern savanna buffalo, also known as the Cape buffalo. Savanna buffaloes are large, heavy cow-like animals. They vary greatly not only in size but in the shapes of their horns and their coloring. Adults are usually dark gray or black, or even look red or white if they have been wallowing in mud of that color, and the young are often reddish-brown. The smaller forest buffalo maintains the red color even as an adult, although in western Uganda, many savanna buffaloes are also red or pale orange instead of black. Adults lose hair as they age. Both males and females have heavy, ridged horns that grow straight out from the head or curve downward and then up. The horns are formidable weapons against predators and are used when jostling for space within the herd. Males use the horns in fights for dominance. Outside national parks, these giants are considered crop pests and are seen as dangerous animals due to their size, aggressive nature, and formidable horns. In East Africa, they are known to break fences, raid cultivated crops, and they may even spread bovine diseases to livestock. In the past, they suffered their most dramatic population decline during the Great Rinderpest epidemic of the 1890s. This also coupled with pleuropneumonia and caused mortalities as high as 95% among livestock and wild buffalo. Buffalo sometimes congregate by the thousands. They can live in herds of a few hundred but have been known to congregate in thousands in the Serengeti during the rainy season. Congregating in large herds is one of their many anti-predator adaptations. Large herds decrease the possibility of any individual being singled out by lions. The females and their offspring make up the bulk of the herd. Males may spend much of their time in bachelor groups. These groups are of two types, those that contain males from 4 to 7 years old and those that have males 12 years and older. The older bulls often prefer to be on their own. Births typically occur during the rainy season. Females have their first calves at age 4 or 5. They usually calve only every 2 years, and most births occur at the end of the rainy season when abundant grass improves the nutritional level for females when they are pregnant or nursing. The female and her offspring have an unusually intense and prolonged relationship. Males do not invest in their offspring. Calves are suckled for as long as a year and during this time are completely dependent on their mothers. Female offspring usually stay in the natal herd, but males leave when they are about 4 years old. Buffalo senses are quite poor. Their sight and hearing are both rather poor, but their scent is well developed in African buffaloes. They also seem to have a relatively difficult time regulating body temperature, the reason why they feed mostly at night. Although they are quiet for the most part, the animals do communicate. In mating seasons they grunt and emit hoarse bellows, and a calf in danger will bellow mournfully, bringing herd members running at a gallop to defend it. Grass forms the bulk of the buffalo's diet. Food sources play more of an important role than predation in regulating population numbers. Without fresh green feed, buffaloes deteriorate rapidly. They devote a large portion of their time to grazing and feeding. After grazing on grass, just like cows, they spend time chewing their cud, or bolus, to extract even more nutrients from their food. Thank you for watching this video.